Yay Networks.
To be honest, tune in. Is the pod going up? To be honest, sit down, we need to have a talk. Cornelius gon' make a point that the others don't. Them other shows sound the same, come escape the box. Expand your mind, dig into no controversial topics. He ain't scared to keep it real. Tune into this podcast, but don't be in your feelings. We gon' have a laugh, we gon' talk about some pain. Let's talk about the present situation of today. To be honest, is this a podcast? I need to tune in right now.
Everybody, welcome. This is Cornelius Lindsay. Welcome to season 2 of To Be Honest, which I am very excited about, being here for season 2 because we actually doing a season 2 right now. But I was not anticipating on starting off season 2 this way, but I feel like we need to have a conversation about a lot of different things. No, I don't have video right now, and that is because I was not prepared, and my producer was not prepared for this. But I'm very thankful. I have my brother, my friend Stephen Ivey, who's joined me because we got a conversation we need to have. I got a lot of questions I need to ask him. I got a lot of things I need to get off my chest. A lot of things we got to talk about. So first off, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me back on To Be Honest. I appreciate you.
Yeah, brother. I'm glad to be back. Well, congrats on season 2, my friend.
I know. I'm super excited about it, and really, I had completely planned on starting out season 2 talking about mental health, and that was going to be my primary thing, specifically men and mental health. That was going to be my primary thing. But bro, we got so much stuff going on. Okay, number 32. What's up with this whole health and human service thing? With the cocaine, what's going on?
There's a lot of information circulating around out there.
Don't say a lot of information. No, okay.
There's a lot of information.
Okay,
there's
yes.
a lot of information circulating around out there.
Okay. Okay.
I look. You're lucky I said information and not misinformation.
Okay.
Because that's what I really want to call it. It's just a lot of misinformation circulating around out there.
Okay. But, so let's bring clarity to it.
Sure.
So what's going on?
So, what we're hearing, obviously, is that the Biden administration is making these approvals. And this is literally how the headline reads, is to pass out crack pipes to the public. And it's just like, hey, listen, or to drug addicts. And let's just be honest, that is not exactly what's happening. And I think obviously there are media outlets that will spin things a certain way as clickbait. People will take it and run with it. And what's really funny is, Fox News is cited for quote unquote breaking this story, but this actually came from another source entirely that's more of not a worthy news outlet. So it's one of those things where the accusations in this light, in this manner, are coming out, but it actually is referring to something, as I did a little bit of research, it's actually referring to something that is a little bit more common than we all may realize, in the sense of dispensaries that give certain help to certain drug addicts in certain states, and they have an allotment for how many they have. And this has been happening for years. It's not something that's brand new or just came out of nowhere. So I think there's a lot of clarity that needs to be brought to that statement, but it's not at all what the headline would read.
Okay. Because I've heard that for a couple of different people. And so I sought to just, travel around, just see if I can just find the different ways or find the different articles that are talking about this. Because it's not just Fox News. Now, I've read this on Yahoo. I've read this on Washington Post. I've read this in a lot of different areas. And one of the things that people are saying, so we have here to confirm that Patrick Hoff is saying from Free Beacons reporting that they're calling it blatant misinformation. Again, they're calling it, I see 3 different sources here calling it blatant misinformation. One of the things they are not doing is they are not denying that this is exactly what it's saying. In fact, it says in the actual report, it says for the purchase equipment and supplies to enhance harm reduction efforts, such as it goes down harm reduction vending machines, infection diseases, testing kits, medication lock boxes, FDA-approved overdose reversal medication, safe sex kits, including PrEP resources and condoms, safe smoking kits and supplies.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly right.
But,
These things already exist. They have been in existence for years.
but,
This
but
is
here,
not the first time this has ever happened.
and I okay, I agree with that. But my thing though is, Stephen, if we're going to be creating these safe smoking kits and all this kind of stuff to give to people, which I know that, I mean, I live in California. They're handing out syringes. They hand out syringes. So I know this is not anything new. My issue comes up with the point of, if we have $30 million to allocate towards the safe distribution of said crack pipes for cocaine, for methamphetamine, syringes, for all those different things. If we have said $30 million to allow people to get grant money to pass these things out for, underserved communities, then why can't we also give $30 million to allocate for insulin distribution?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what pisses me off. And then the communities that it's going to, Stephen, like, that's the other thing that pissed me off. Did you read bro, this thing said primarily Black. I read an article that said Black, Native American, and LGBTQ. I read another article that said Black, Latino, Native American, and LGBTQ. Why can't the white folks get it? Why can't white folks get crack? Right. They do crack, they do meth. Why can't white folks get it? Like, this Black History Month.
They probably do it more than anybody else. To be
Bruh.
honest with you on those kinds of drugs, for sure. I just think, man. Obviously you make a great point. We could talk all day about what they could have been doing with some money instead of spending $30 million on this. Ultimately, I would say, again, just trying to look through the lens of what the government is actually trying to do. If they are trying to make it to where people aren't making themselves more at risk for death and other things by making these things available, then obviously, that's their way of trying to do right by the American people. Obviously, I feel like there's other things that they could have done. I agree exactly with your point about insulin or other options to help. But, again, this thing isn't new. And so they're probably just pouring money back into a system that's already been established. And they are trying to continue that with some sort of due diligence.
And I'll give you that. I'll lend that over to you. But I do want to bring this up, because the other part of this that is extremely telling is the fact that our current president is partly responsible for the 1994 crime bill, in which the 1994 crime bill, I can't quote his words verbatim, but in that we were called, what is it, concrete animals or whatever it may be, thugs and all this kind of stuff, referring to blacks, particularly black males. The 1994 crime bill, which came out with the 3-strike rule. So there are many people right now who are sitting in jail because they either ingested cocaine or because the materials they used to make them were on their person or in their vehicle or somewhere else. There are individuals who are sitting in jail right now on life sentences because they were either caught with cocaine or they were caught in distribution centers, or many of them died because the methamphetamine labs that they were in blew up. But that 1994 crime bill gave people 3 strikes and then you're out. You had life in prison. So now, how do we come from a 1994 crime bill that, in my opinion, completely destroyed the underserved black community? How do we go from that to now with the Health and Human Services, we're looking at trying to eradicate trying to get racial equity by now making sure that primarily black communities have access to crack pipes?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple layers to what you're talking about here. We're talking about this crime bill that was passed in 1994, obviously totally different climate in the sense of drug distribution in America.
Hold on. I mean, how is it a different climate though? Fentanyl right now is killing Americans. How is it a different climate?
there was decades of rising crime, bro.
Look, have you seen?
Drafted.
Look at Atlanta. I wouldn't even go to Buckhead. I don't even want to go to Lenox Mall. Come on, Stephen. How is it pockets?
Those are pockets. I'm just saying.
Go walk downtown in New Orleans right now.
We're talking about the United States of America as a whole was a different criminal climate in the sense of like why, in other words, why this bill was drafted in the first place, right? Obviously, it was trying to buffet rising crime at that time. Now, was it the best way to go about it? Maybe not, because again, we feel differently about a lot of things today than we did then. Even in the running for Biden, he actually went over all of this, talking about his stance on this bill then and versus now. And so could those things stand to change? Absolutely. You know, there are people in jail now over the same thing again, but America feels differently about these drugs today than they did back then. Right?
Can we overturn their convictions?
I wish we would. There's a lot of convictions that need to be overturned, specifically marijuana, but we don't want to talk about Gary Chambers yet. I'm just saying, you know. So I mean, yeah,
I love
a lot
it.
of things that need to be overturned.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we, so now, and you know, I go back to what you're talking about, and I don't necessarily believe it's a different climate. I feel like now in 2022. We're at a extremely dangerous climate with violence.
So to that point, do you not feel like America and the government as a whole views drugs differently than they did in the 90s?
I know, to answer your question, yes, I do. Because now I believe that the government is going to find a way, and I believe that's where we're slowly going to, is going to find a way to ultimately make money off of drugs, because we've come to the conclusion they know they're never going to be able to get rid of it. So now we have to start a cannabis industry, and ultimately so that it can be taxed effectively to ultimately give the government more money. I think the same thing is going to come with methamphetamine. It's going to come with all those different things. It's going to come with the same thing. The government's going to find a way to be able to tax it so that we can, you know, they can be able to make money off of it.
Right. Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. I think what they're trying to do is get more and more involved in a realm where they have tried to
political gangsters.
Exactly. In previous years, they've tried to take the moral high ground and act like we don't need this, but they can't deny that the financial.
Yeah, because their kids are taking it.
Exactly.
Because they're like, we don't need it. Then they go home and, like, you know, exactly. all their kids are strung out on coke and meth.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize this. I live in a, you know, a nice area in LA County, and I was talking to a neighbor. The neighbor was saying that a lot of the neighbors are strung out on fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold up, you know, and the assumption always was that crack and stuff like that was just in the hood. It was just in the ghetto. It was just, right. it was just in those places, but that's not the case anymore, because now crack, cocaine, methamphetamine, all those things have made their way into, and they've really always been in more affluent areas. Just the affluent people just have had a better way of being able to cover it up. And many of them are functional addicts.
Absolutely.
They just got a private 100%. Plane, and they just sniffing coke on the private plane because they know they can't do it on Delta.
Yeah. and a lot of times they want exclusive access to certain things. They don't want everyone to have access to the same things that they have access to. So that's another topic of discussion. But they did very similar things with, like, even the right to bear arms. Like there was a whole uproar about certain sects of people in America trying to, like, make stricter regulations on gun ownership for the black community as opposed to the white community, as if we have any less of a right to bear arms. Like the NRA isn't a thing. Like, so you know, it is very interesting how this plays out from a racial dynamic to who can have access to what when.
Okay, now let's switch gears for a little bit, because that whole Health and Human Service thing. When I saw it, I was like, this can't be true. Then I read it again. I was like, and I kept reading it because, again, I read the things where it said it was misinformation.
Cornelius, it's that there's a lot of people who just don't know that this stuff already exists. So when it's new information to somebody, or what feels like new information,
Right.
that's the perfect time to, you know, throw it on a headline and make it something that
Absolutely,
that it's
but
not. You know?
absolutely. But my issue here is because I knew this stuff existed. This stuff didn't just come with a Democratic president. That's not, you know. Of course, it's now we're in 2022, which we're going to talk about next, which is the midterm elections. We're getting ready to get into that.
Oh Lord.
The goal. No, hold on. I ain't said nothing yet, bro. Calm down. But I'm just saying the goal of the, you know, losing, you know, of the two-party system is going to ultimately try to make the other party look bad. That's what it's going to be. And the way you make the party look bad is you have to start from the top. You start with their president and go down. Democrats did that with Trump and then made their way down. So I get that, but I think going back to it, it was the issues that I brought up. It was the, you know, when you think about this, you go back to the 1994 crime bill. When you think about this, you're asking the question, how does this really solve, you know, racial equity, which was supposed to be the whole thing behind it. Those are the questions that I had. And then I got pissed off because I'm thinking to myself again about insulin and things like that people actually need to keep them alive. Yeah. But, you know, you know, I know they've been giving out syringes. I live in California. I can't drive 30 minutes from my house and I see people with syringes in, like, driving down the road. They're at the street, man. Like sitting outside of a tent, like shooting up. Yeah, man. And so I see it. But we got to talk 2022 midterm elections, because you know what's getting ready to happen. you know what's getting ready to happen. We got to talk about this, Stephen.
Let's talk about it, man. you know, I'm so excited about my dude from Louisiana. I don't know what to do, Gary Chambers.
Oh, Gary!
I could not be more excited about Gary Chambers.
So, if you don't know who Gary Chambers is, you wanna be the one to share with the people who he is?
Yeah, I would love to. You know, so Gary Chambers Jr., man, is running for the U.S. Senate in Louisiana. And if anybody knows about Louisiana and knows about the history of Louisiana, it has been a conservative state for a long time. And it also, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but in addition to that, it's also been full of all of our racial disparities in the sense of racism and the Confederacy and all those things. And so the Louisiana government has been very racist for a long time.
You have a Democrat mayor now, but I just want to throw that in there.
Right, just throwing that in there.
I just want to throw that in there real quick.
But throwing that in there as well, there has not been a black person elected to the United States Senate in Louisiana in a very long time. And so he is seeking to do just that. And he is now become viral because he started his campaign strategy by smoking a blunt in the campaign ad. And not a small blunt either. It was a big one. And
he should have got a black and mild. That's what he should have got. He should have got a black and mild.
And it has caused quite a stir in the political world, because he is trying to, again, get equity for people who are being unjustly locked up for marijuana use in Louisiana and beyond. But Louisiana's behind in a lot of different ways, man. They're like literally like 48th, 49th in the nation in certain things. And it's like, you know, it's just time for Louisiana to come up. So I think Gary's the guy that's going to bring the change that Louisiana needs.
Now, let me ask you this question, because I haven't looked at the poll. I haven't looked at the polls in Louisiana. That's not a state that I've been keeping up with. I do know that they have a Democratic governor, but right now, does Gary Chambers? I would assume if he's running in is he running in a primary? Do you know? Is he primary?
I believe so, man. I mean, obviously it's a money thing at first, just trying to make sure you've got the resources to be able to take this thing the long haul. But I believe so. He's literally trying to take his opponent completely out, who has, by the way, been there well beyond his stay. I can't even think of the guy's name right now, but he's just been there well beyond his state, man. So it's just time for a change in Louisiana, man. And I just hope they can get this guy. I mean, mind you, he's not new to this at all. Again, just to give a little bit more background on Gary. He's been doing this for a long time as a private citizen. Just, hey, I'm out here doing my due diligence, going to the meetings, going to stand up for justice, going to stand up for the local politics in my area. He's been on the ground, but now he's actually taking a stand and running.
So I figured that's who he's getting ready to run against, but I was just looking here to make sure. And it looks like that Gary Chambers is running against John Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
And, you know, I'll say this. I don't know if he has a really good chance of winning against Kennedy.
Kennedy's been there so long, man. But if you look at what he's done, it's literally nothing.
Okay. I believe that, you know, Gary Chambers may have had a viral moment, but I don't think that's going to equate to votes, especially if he's running up against Kennedy. Kennedy right now is a very popular Republican, an extremely popular Republican. And I don't foresee that being the case in this climate. Now, if this was, you know, let's see, President Obama won office in what, 2018, no, not 2018. It was 2000 and what? When did President Obama win? Let's see, Bill Clinton.
No,
Bill Clinton was
11, right?
2000. So I could see if this was 2010. Then maybe, right. Because, you know, in my opinion, President Obama really energized the base. He had people going out. He had people to cross over the lines in order to go, you know, and start voting Democrat. So I believe that President Obama really energized his base. Even though, you know, they say that old Joe, he got more votes than Obama. I don't really see the same energy. I don't see the same energy in the base. I'm not throwing any shade. I'm just saying I don't see the same energy in the base. So I don't see that being a crossover. And people who are just energized about Joe Biden going and saying, I'm going to go vote for Chambers over Kennedy. So he may have had a viral moment, but I don't see that sticking throughout the election.
I don't know, man. I disagree. We're
going to look at it. We're going to see it. Right now, Republicans are almost guaranteeing a red wave. They're saying it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, they're saying that. But I think, again, you know, certain states might have a greater claim to that statement than others, and I don't think Louisiana is one of them.
I don't know. We need to look at it. Probably put a wager on it. I'm willing to put a wager on that one. I am. I think the Senator Kennedy is extremely popular. He's popular in the state of Louisiana, but you know what? I would love to bring Gary Chambers on here to be able to, I'd love to talk to him and really just to understand his platform, but I just don't see that. I know. And then also you have a lot of different states right now that have approved a lot of different redistricting. So now, because of the way that the new maps are drawn, like I know in the state of Georgia, the Republicans were able to, you know, move some districts around, which took 2 Democratic congresswomen basically took one out of her seat. So now it's 2 Democratic congresswomen who have to run against each other. Caroline, what's her name? Last name I think is Bordeaux, and then the second one is Lucy McBath, a black woman who ultimately, you know, she became known because her son was killed by the police. I believe she's going to be running against another Democratic woman. So you have that it's happening in many states. Do you foresee your party doing anything, you know, big in 2022? I'm sorry the way I said that. I shouldn't say that like that. But I mean, what do you see, Stephen? Outside of Gary Chambers?
Party. You said my party, but I
thought you were a Democrat. You're not a Democrat?
I'm a registered Democrat, but I am not loyal to any party.
I was like, how you a registered Democrat then, but you ain't loyal to the Democrats?
We've talked about this.
I know we did. That's why I said it how I said it.
That's how you said it. Yeah, man. You know, I'm a registered Democrat, but I am not loyal to a fault.
So why are you registered to them if you ain't loyal to them?
Well, it's because you have to be registered to somebody.
What state you live in? Oh, Florida. Oh, okay.
I'm in Florida. Yeah.
That's a whole bunch of Republicans just registered. Right now they top the Democrats, which is crazy.
Look, there's a
Insane.
lot of Republicans switching into Democrats. John Kennedy was one of them. There's a lot of Democrats switching to Republicans. But I mean, hey, I think at the end of the day, to answer your question about what we're going to do, I do believe that the Democratic Party is going to try to make sure they stand behind a lot of these ideals on the healthcare system. Right now, a lot of people have distrust because of a pandemic, and I think what the Democratic Party is going to continue to try to do, and this is just me speaking on behalf of them, but I think what they're going to try to do is continually show people that what their best interest is to keep people safe. And I know that we can talk about agendas and all this other stuff that could be behind the curtain. I totally understand and do believe some of that. But I do believe that the ultimate agenda that they're going to try to push is we're trying to keep people safe. And so we're going to see a lot more health conversation happen in the future with the Democratic Party as we continue to move forward, because as we can see, COVID has not gone anywhere.
Well, I believe if the Democrats learn anything, they should have took a playbook out of Virginia, because with Glenn, I don't believe that Glenn Youngkin was supposed to win that election.
Right.
I don't believe he was supposed to win that election. Terry has been governor there before. Terry has a name in Virginia. Virginians know him. Terry lost that election because of moms. He lost that election because of mothers. And I think that one thing that the Democratic Party is going to have to wake up to pretty soon is this idea of choice. And I believe that a lot of moms are getting pissed off because the moms are the one who, they're the ones who are out caring about their kids. I mean, as a dad, I care too. That's why I'm thankful. My kids, they go to a school where they have a sense of choice. But nevertheless, you have kids that are in masks all day, which is, I was shocked when I woke up this morning and I saw that the gubernatorial candidate in Georgia, Stacey Abrams, that she apologized for the picture. But right. I figured she probably was, because it was incredibly damning. She's sitting down, and she's smiling, and she doesn't have on a mask. And then the rest of the kids behind her are all masked up. And you're starting to see more pictures like this of Democratic officials who are pushing masks, but then everybody else in the picture doesn't have on masks. And then it goes into that, do as I say, not as I do type thing. And so I think that Democrats are going to have to wake up to that pretty soon. How do you feel about that?
I just think some of that too is just optics, It
is optics, but it works to the favor. It works to the narrative. And but they created the narrative. Wouldn't you say they created it?
I would definitely say that there is, yes.
You are a politician. I just want to say that, because you ain't answered one doggone question I provided for you. Didn't they create the narrative? Did they create that thing?
I think science created the narrative.
How did science create the narrative? Science didn't tell us to wear no mask, because science ain't said that.
What? Science did say that.
No, science ain't said that. Okay, but okay. If you're equating, what's his name? Oh man, I can think of the man's name. Oh my goodness. What's his name, Stephen? Fauci. If Fauci is science, which I think he is science, then if you say that, then I agree with you. Science, which is Fauci, said we got to wear a mask. But when the heck did Fauci? Nah, that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast there. That right there is a whole nother podcast. Yeah, man.
Oh,
so that's what I really think. I mean, some of it is optics. Obviously, you're right. Like the narrative being primarily pushed by the Democratic Party is in the favor of science, which backs up and validates the idea of mask wearing. However, I think if you're going to push that, you do also have to be
Max validity of mask wearing. He came out and wrote an email, Stephen, that said that masks don't work.
Well, some masks don't work.
I did see that. You have to wear the K. Okay, so yesterday was my first time ever wearing the KN9533 mask. Okay. I ain't never worn one. It was my first time ever wearing one, because I couldn't find one, and somebody was like, "Here, wear this one," and I put that thing on. I walked around the grocery store with that thing for 2 minutes and was like, "I can't do this. I can't even breathe in the thing. I couldn't breathe. I could not breathe."
But it's doing its job.
It ain't doing no job for me, because look, if I don't die from COVID, I'm gonna die from asphyxiation or whatever it is.
I'm gonna tell you what I don't like about what I don't like about those little regular medical masks is that as you breathe, it's like that's coming into your mouth as well. What I like about the KN95 is that it's sturdy enough that it's not going in and out as you breathe. It's like it's just there.
Now just
And
give me my, just let me walk. Let me be free.
listen, hey, look, I agree 100%.
Just let me be free.
And I think you should be able to be free and walk and do that unvaccinated. See, I'm not Democratic. I think you should be able to do that unvaccinated.
Absolutely.
I just think everyone should have their choice to do
whatever the heck they want to do. Now, I said this to somebody, and I want to hear your argument. I know what I said back, but somebody said, I hear what you're saying, Cornelius. However, don't you wear a seatbelt? Isn't that mandated that you have to wear a seatbelt because that seatbelt is for your safety? So the same way you should get vaccinated and you should wear a mask for your safety and for the safety of everybody else, which I don't understand because I've met people who have gotten COVID from people who were vaccinated against COVID, and they got COVID, and people who were vaccinated also got COVID, and then they went into the hospital because, and I don't know about the whole love thy brother and thy neighbor, because all of a sudden, Democratic politicians learned the Bible. I didn't know that. All of a sudden, they were able to use scripture. They became preachers.
Like Democratic politicians didn't go to Sunday school. They don't go to church.
Hey, I'm just saying. As soon as COVID came out, everybody became a pastor. I didn't get it.
You better listen to the Bible now.
Hey,
That's what we should have been listening to in the first place.
I'm just like, yo,
but now
give everybody their choice.
Give everybody their choice, man. I hear the seatbelt argument, but I don't necessarily agree with it because, at the end of the day, what goes in your body is a completely different thing. Now, here's what I do agree with, right? We don't think I don't agree with anyone being mandated to take something for themselves in their own body. I don't agree with that. However, I don't disagree with certain establishments making their own rules for their own businesses to say, hey, look, for the safety of the people in this room, we've decided for a season that we're going to make these requirements. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And so that's where people get a little murky because they're like, well, wait a minute, you shouldn't tell me I couldn't be able to come here. Well, look, if you don't want to put it in your body, that's your right, bro. But if that's their business, and they get to decide. So
I agree.
I just think there's a balance to
It's
everything.
a private business. Yeah. That's a private business, and a private business should be able to have their own right as to what they will allow come inside their facility. I agree wholeheartedly. I have no argument with that whatsoever. So certain businesses,
a lot of people do though, and that's what's interesting to me. A lot of people do. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about what they should be able to do. I should be able to do whatever I want. Well, you look with your own body, yes, but not in the world. Out of my house. Yeah, yeah, man.
Because when you come over to my house. Outside,
yeah, exactly.
Well, when you come over my house, you got to take off your shoes. You can't be like, I should keep my shoes. No. So if I walk in somebody's house, I want to be respectful. If I walk in somebody's house and say, "Hey, could you wear a mask?"
Exactly.
And depending on whether or not I actually like that person and I actually want to walk inside their house, I'll do it. I've never been asked that question, but if they ask me that, sure, I'll wear a mask. Like I walk inside a grocery store. I mean, there's some grocery stores here in LA County. All of them are supposed to mandate it. A lot of my go-to don't. So I walk in there, I won't have on a mask, and they're just, it is what it is, and they don't bother me, I don't bother them. But some of them, I walk in, and they're like, sir, your mask, and absolutely, I put my mask on. That's just it. I go gym and stuff like that. I go to different places where it is completely my choice, and I respect that. But if there is a business or private practice that wants me to wear them, then that's fine. So now we're running out of time here, so I want to move over to this other big thing that we have right now, and that's Russia, Ukraine, and I got to throw in there China and Taiwan. Now I ain't gonna say much about China because I don't want to die right
Oh my goodness.
But you got China and Taiwan that I think China is also watching. Putin knows that he couldn't do this when Trump was president, because I think Trump matched Putin's crazy, and when crazy meet crazy, then crazy got to cool down. But now that he looks at President Joe Biden, which I do believe should get a cognitive test, it is apparent in his speeches that his mental health, that his cognitive features are beginning to deteriorate. And I think that is a problem. And I think the rest of the world sees that. Putin sees it, and Putin is going to go after. He's going to do it when Biden is president. Biden came out and said that if he does do it, then the what is it? The Nord Stream, the pipeline would ultimately be shut off there in Germany, which I think that Putin is going to call his bluff because he knows that America right now, we have high inflation. He knows all the problems that we're having right now in America. And I think he understands just how much we need that pipeline to keep going, because for some reason we can't just drill here in America. That's a whole other podcast. But talk to me. Tell me about this thing, because, bro, we're right on the brink of what would be World War III. If Russia jumps into this, China is already with them. Yeah. And Germany ain't trying to get involved. France ain't trying to get involved. Italy sure ain't getting involved. And UK like, look, we ain't wearing masks no more. Y'all leave us alone. Like, we just got finished with Brexit. And Australia is all tied up. Canada, they got truckers that won't move. Mexico, they trying to come to America. Who gonna help us? Who gonna help us?
Well, I mean,
what?
Here's the only problem with this: is there is an assumption that
you're such a politician.
I'm just saying, there's an assumption here within your statement.
We need to put you on
and obviously, whatever. Obviously, within the statements of what we're seeing on the news, that United States is too weak to stand ground. And
I didn't say we were too weak. I didn't say the United States was. I said we're looking at the commander in chief. All I was talking about is cognitive ability.
That is one and the same. He is the symbol of the free world.
Dude, okay. So, let me ask this question straight on, Stephen. Do you believe there is something up with President Joe Biden's cognitive ability? Have you watched his speeches?
I have watched his speeches. I will say no, not from a cognitive sense.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at all. You know why? It's no less inflammatory than the last president we had for 4 years that could not talk straight. So I'm not going to even begin to open that can of worms. So no, not at all. Not at all. I don't
Trump finished sentences.
I am not more worried. I am not more worried about Biden's slurred words.
Are you kidding me?
Trump's inflammatory speech off the cuff.
He
I am
finished
not more worried
statements.
about that. I would rather you slur the right word.
He didn't slur the right words. I don't even know what words he's saying. Hey, look. hey, Stephen. Trump will have a whole teleprompter, won't even use it. He'd be like, he just go. Trump have a whole teleprompter, like, forget it.
I know the production team is mad. Like, why
they
did we
pissed
set
off?
this up?
His speechwriter's probably so mad all the time.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, man, I am not turned off by imperfect.
I am.
No.
I am. It was remember. It was the speaking. Remember, it was this. Which somebody's not inflammatory. It's embarrassing.
You know what's embarrassing?
What's embarrassing? What's
a
embarrassing?
President Stephen? Calling an entire race of people in the country he is presiding over rapists and killers and monsters. Like, no, bro. Like, no, that's embarrassing. I refuse to take the notion that Joe Biden's slurred speech is a more cataclysmic concern than inflammatory speech on the cuff. No way, man.
I don't know why it is with y'all Democrats. And every time I bring up something with President Joe Biden, we always have to go back and come. We always got to remember, well, what about Trump? What about Trump? Can't we just?
Yeah, because that is the obvious.
It's not.
That is the obvious objection.
Why we got to compare him to him? Why can't we compare him to John F. Kennedy? Why can't we compare him to John F. Kennedy?
We can't.
Why? Why can't we compare him to President Obama? Okay. Well, what about President Obama? Let's compare him to President Obama.
Obama had couth. He was the most likable president.
Well, you know,
are you kidding me? Let's just talk about approval ratings.
He was the most likable president. We have the most likable president now, who had the most votes.
Oh my God!
He was the most liked president. The most liked president is the one we have right now, isn't it? I thought that was the most liked one.
Let's talk about approval ratings. Everybody's talking about, oh, well, because of his slurs, he's on these words, and his approval rating is down.
Nobody thinks his approval rating is down because of that. People think his approval rating down because they think his work is crap. They don't think he's done anything.
Okay,
it hasn't been built back better. It's been built back whatever.
Okay, well, a lot of y'all thought Trump's work was amazing, and guess what? He had a lower approval rating than Joe Biden currently does right now.
Gosh, why do we always have to go? Like, why does it always have to be? Well, what about Trump? What about Trump? Why can't we just stick?
That's the obvious comparison.
But why can't we just stick with Joe Biden? That's what I don't understand. Why can't we just call him on his merits? Why does it always have to be?
I'm going to
go ahead. Tell me why. Tell me why.
The reason why is because if you're the same people that are trying to call Joe Biden out on this refused to say anything in the previous.
Well, that wasn't me, because we've been on this podcast, and I've talked about there's no way I can defend his rhetoric, and I won't have to. Right. I don't have to defend his rhetoric.
So
I just want people to say that about Joe Biden.
I think Joe Biden, though, that's a different conversation.
It's not a different conversation. His cognitive ability is in question. He should take a cognitive test. Absolutely. Listen to his speech. The man be rubbing on his hair. He don't know what he be talking about. He be talking about Germany, talking about Russia. I'm afraid of what he probably think he in Japan right now. He probably sitting there forcing
reading a teleprompter. You can't say he doesn't know what he's talking
about. well, listen to his speeches. You don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. That's what I'm saying. I am saying that man don't know what he's talking about. All right, but nonetheless, Russia and Ukraine. Russia, because what people are saying is that Russia will ultimately invade Ukraine, and then when that does happen, we already know that Russia is in partnership and connection with China.
Yeah.
And if that does happen, and if Joe Biden keeps his word that he is going to, rain down swift fire upon the Russians or upon Putin and to go into assist Ukraine, then what does that mean for Americans?
Yeah, these are a lot of things.
You should become a political pundit. You don't answer no questions.
No, I am right now. I mean, these are just a lot of things that are hyperbole. For the time being, there's a lot of this could. What it could be for America.
We're talking potential. What could happen?
I mean, what could happen for America, man, is that we end up having to get involved. I mean, obviously,
should we? Okay, let me ask you this question: do you believe we should get involved?
I don't honestly think every battle is ours. I mean, this is why
this is where we agree.
Yeah, I don't think every battle is ours, man.
This is where we agree. There are a lot of ways we could go about this that doesn't involve more military involvement. But obviously America doesn't see it that way. None of the politicians have seen it that way. I would be interested to know how a Donald Trump, who by most is considered. Here we go, bringing up Trump again.
But no, I'm just saying because let's not act like he's not about to try to run again. Okay, I mean he's definitely about to.
Y'all love that man, don't you?
No, but I'm just saying people hailed him as he's a strong figure, So my thing is if he was sitting in this seat right now, I think he'd be pulling triggers before anybody else.
Donald Trump he probably already sent missiles to Russia.
Man, he's so ready to push a button.
Hey, he would have. It's a different type of crazy, and I think Putin knew that. The same thing Kim Jong-un knew it too. Not Jim, Kim Jong-un.
Oh, Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un. I can't think of his name, but whatever. He knew it too. It was just crazy. Crazy met crazy. And that's why he was like, right. You can come to North Korea. Yeah, we'll step over this line together, because he knew crazy met crazy. I think the
United States, feels that there are certain allied partnerships. Do we need crazy right now?
Who's going to partner with us? Germany said they're not getting involved, which rightfully they if I was Germans, I wouldn't get involved either. I don't believe France is going to get involved. Italy ain't trying to get involved. UK just got finished. I don't think they're done with Brexit yet. Right. They don't want to get involved. They're trying to keep countries under royal imperialism. They're trying to keep them under the Queen's crown. They have their own issues to worry about. Australia, they can't do nothing. Australia is landlocked right now. Canada, I mean, Justin Trudeau we don't know where he at because the truckers have basically taken over Ottawa. And so you have all these things that are happening right now, man.
Bro, what we need to be doing is keeping our eye on North Korea.
On North Korea, bro, we be keeping our eyes on North Korea. We need to keep our eyes on the border. So I was down in Texas, Stephen. I was down in Texas. No, listen to me. I was down in Texas hunting, and I was in Uvalde, Texas. Uvalde, whatever it is. Uvalde, Texas. And I was down there hunting, and I went over to these guys' house, and they said the other night, they said people knocked on the door at 2 a.m. They said it happens all the time. They're right there on the border. And they were saying that, they'll wait till you answer the door, and then they'll brush into your house and basically, like try to take over your house, whatever it is. But they said that they'll be out just farming and they'll find dead bodies, like laying underneath trees because of dehydration or because of, food or whatever it is. And they'll call them in. They're just like, well, keep them there until we get there. It's like, we need to be worrying about the border. We have to worry about violent crime that's escalating in many major cities. I know we're talking about this economy that's supposed to be on the rise, but for many people, we're starting to see economic disparity across the board, which is going to ultimately, if you want to talk racial equity, we have to start dealing with the economic disparity, which I believe COVID kind of separated a lot. And now we have a technological age that's beginning to take place. And a lot of people are not going to be able to catch up. We have NFTs and everything else that's happening. Have people noticed we don't even hand out coins anymore? When the last time you had a quarter or you gave somebody a $5 bill? I keep cash on me, but just very little because you don't need it anymore. Most places don't even accept cash because when people come in and rob them, they don't have a cash system, a cash register for anybody to steal. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of dynamics here for sure, because at the end of the day, I mean, I know I'm seeing it here in Florida, gas is going up, rental properties are going up. Like it's a big deal. I was talking to a buddy of mine, who lives in an apartment complex here locally in Orlando. And I mean, normally he has his incremental increases of, let's just say, I don't know, $100 or $50 or whatever it is every year that they obviously going to do. His rent went up $500.
Wow.
From year over year. I mean, so think about what that does to families, man. And if everybody's doing it, it's going to leave a lot of people in a pickle, as to what they're going to be, what kind of options they have as far as living conditions, man. So, it's definitely something that we're seeing spikes in all kinds of areas. I just think that, and this is a question that we could talk about, but, regulations oftentimes are state by state. And so, it just seems like there should be some red tape for these states to not be able to allow some of these things to happen the way they do. And I don't know if that comes from a federal level or what, but I just think that oftentimes these states they're too free to do whatever they want in certain areas. Not all areas, obviously, but in certain areas.
And they can't do no red tape. If they do red tape, that means that's gonna cut down on their campaign dollars. Yeah.
Well, see, that's another conversation. Because what's more important? You're trying to win an election for people that can't survive.
I agree. Well, we're going to give them crack pipes.
Oh, God.
That's reparations. Stephen, we're talking about reparations, though. This is reparations.
Yeah, we are.
It's reparations. It's crap. Anyway, I got to bring you back on here and do it again. Y'all, I love y'all. Thank y'all. I'm so excited about season 2 of To Be Honest. It's going to be a great conversation going into.
Maybe he'll be honest this year.
Ooh. Ooh. God.
I'm just playing.
Oh, Jesus. See, this is the kind of stuff you get. But next time we come back to you, hopefully I can have Stephen back on here. We can continue our conversation because there's other things we didn't talk about. Maybe next time we come on, the trucker situation, trucker convoy will be dealt with. I know Super Bowl is getting ready to take place. The truckers are talking about blockading the Super Bowl, which won't bother me at all. But you have a lot of things that's going on, and I would love to be able to just continue this conversation. Thank y'all so much for joining us on To Be Honest. As always, introduces, we are out. God bless y'all. Bye.